So we're going to dive in. So this is a pretty succinct session, but the title is I Can't Do It All, How Do I Manage Social, Photo, Video, Interviewing, and Writing a Story, which I think once we've gone through everything as we have in Bciu, it's a little bit overwhelming, everything that you can use. That does not mean you need to use it all at once. So just to review a little bit, here are some of the things that you need to be familiar with, and by familiar I mean before you need them. So hopefully you've gone through and you've gotten familiar with these items that you're not familiar with when we studied on them. If not, you need to devote some time to becoming familiar and know how to use the different platforms. So Facebook, Twitter, I think 98% of us are pretty darn well versed on those. TweetDeck, reporters in particular, although I think you guys are pretty good at parsing your tweet feeds, your Twitter feeds. Linking strategy. I sent out that email last week about the issues that we've been having with hyperlinks. Make sure you're unchecking that shared destination box. That will mess up the hyperlink not only for your story, but for other people's. Headline writing, of course, we've talked about that pretty extensively. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more next week. Know how to shoot photos and video on your cell phone when needed. Live tweeting, and the different live video platforms and those that apply to you. And make sure you have everything that you need before you go out there. So don't just be familiar with the product, but if you know that you may have to do Facebook Live video at some point, make sure you have Facebook downloaded on your phone. You know that if you are going to do it, you're going to do it on the Herald's account. Make sure you have that login information somewhere. Just really make sure that you're familiar with the technology before you need it, and you have things like Periscope, Facebook, Twitter, all of those things that you need downloaded on your phone or wherever it is before you actually need them. So just to review, on social, you should all have TweetDeck either downloaded or bookmarked as a website page. Everyone here should have a Twitter account or have access to the Herald's Twitter account to use whenever needed and know how to tweet, retweet, do links, etc., etc. Everyone ideally has a Facebook account. Pat is even on there now, so I think we're at 100% maybe. Michael, are you on Facebook? Okay. I don't know why I quizzed you. Yeah. I should be asking Nick since he's the other flip phone user. And then on Facebook, again, if you think that there's some potential for you to do live video on there, make sure you have access to their account. Mainly in this room, that would deal with you two, and you both should have access. So just go in and make sure that on your phone you can get to the Herald page if you ever need to do live video. Sometimes you have to download pages in order to get there. And same with Periscope for anybody that would be out in the field. So a lot of, what you need to do when you're out there it's obviously a balancing act. That's no surprise to anybody. But the biggest thing is to know what you're going to do before you head out. Obviously, in the case of spot news, it's run and gun, seeing what happens when you're on the scene. But for something that's not spot news, before you ever think about leaving the paper, identify what works for that story. Is it just tweeting? Is it one tweet with a photo? Is it a full live tweet, 20 tweets in half an hour? Does live video apply? Is it just an interview? Look at what is best to tell the story. Because remember, even though we have all these tools, it's all about storytelling. It's all about delivering the news. So once you look at what the story is, and this can just be a couple minutes while you're heading out there, or a couple minutes before you leave the office talking to Sue, or talking to David, or talking to me. Because obviously, if you're going to do an extensive live tweeting, we might put the widget on the site. If you're going to do live video, we want to tease it. So, have that conversation kind of with yourself and then with your supervisor and the parties that need to be part of that in order to get it on the website if you're doing something like that. But it can be a real quick kind of thought process. Just think about it before you go out. Don't go out and be like, oh, let's live. This is great video. When if you kind of thought about it before you went out, you would know it was great video. And then know what the situation is and what you'll physically be able to do. If you're out covering a fire, there are safety issues. You're going to be talking to the PIO. Ideally, you're going to be working with a photographer. Is live video doable? Probably not. We'd probably need to send another person out there to do live video and just do that. So, think about the physicality of what you're doing, too. If you're doing live video, you're probably not live tweeting. So it's choosing which is the best storytelling option. And then know when to ask for help. Like I was saying, if we are going to do live video and it's some big spot news, we're probably going to send another person out there to do just that so that you can focus on doing the story and feeding them more information. But don't be afraid to ask for help if you think that the story merits it, even if it's not some big spot news. A lot of us are not willing to do that. And things like if Jonathan's out on a scene, live tweeting, trying to do video, et cetera, sometimes that help can be David just feeding them information, or coordinating, pulling tweets from everybody else and getting it to them. Just don't be afraid to ask for help. I think oftentimes in journalism, because we do have to handle so much, we often don't ask for help when we can use it. We are always digital first, and so that is kind of our number one priority right now. Maybe number two. We do have to put out a paper still. But always make sure that when you're on an assignment, you file for online really quickly, as soon as you can, ideally with a photo. Oftentimes that can be picked up directly from your Twitter account, so just make sure that you're coordinating with your supervisor to make sure that whatever method is the best way is the one we happen. Don't do live video just to do it. Make sure the subject matters it. I am sure you guys have seen a lot of kind of major news organizations are doing a lot of live video right now. They're getting very few users. I mean, I don't know how many fans New York Times has right now, but one of their top live videos has like 2,000 people watching, which for them is almost nothing. So we want to make sure, we want to get practice with it, but we also want to do it for a reason. And again, just remember, it's about the news and about the best way to tell that story. Photographers, reporters, the desk, we are all one big team, and so just don't feel like you're out there alone. Obviously, again, this applies to you too more than anybody else. You're not out there being forced to wing it all by yourself. We are a team and we can all coordinate. And then, of course, remember that we do need a print story, but don't undermine the fact that if you do live video, every platform saves it. And if you're live tweeting, those are, in turn, your notes from the scene. And so don't think you have to do those two and take notes, because ideally, if you're tweeting and doing live video correctly, you've already compiled your notes before you ever get back. So again, like I said, this is quick. Top tips. Know the tools before you head out. Be prepared and knowledgeable about them before you go out. First and foremost, get the story. And number 4, prioritize what tools are the best to tell the story and what you can physically do while you're out there, because you are one person. And yeah, that's what I said. Tell the story, deliver the news. That's the priority across the board. And we want to do it in the best way we can. And that's it. Like I said, very quick. Just, I just really want you guys to know that you're not alone. Particularly, you two, this team here, the rest of us here, we're in the office. We're office rats. We're here to support you. We're here to do what we can. And, you guys to know that, obviously, you're here to support the team when they're out and about. Next week's session is mandatory. So make sure you can come Tuesday or Thursday. If you have some major thing that's a conflict, please let me know as soon in advance as you can. It is also our last BCIU of the semester.